Hey Tribe, good morning. Just want to share a couple things with you here, but I think these two things I want to share with you really fast is you really need to listen to this video, okay? Because if you're struggling with manifesting, if you're struggling trying to get it to work for you, okay? It comes down to these two things, but I'm going to explain it in a different way that maybe you understand it better, okay? But these are the two ultimate things you really need to do, you really need to master. Okay, so other than that, if you're new here, by the way, my name's Chad. Welcome to Live Life on Your Terms, where we talk about success and manifesting and really to get it to work for you. So comment below, tell me hello, and I try my best to always answer you back. But anyway, what are these two things I'm referring to? And you know, I'm in the morning, I got my Thai donuts here, so I might take a bite of my donut here and there. Okay, let's talk about the first one. Okay, now the first one, you might already know this. You might already, have some experience with this. And sometimes when we have more experience, sometimes that kind of messes with us a little bit. We kind of fall in little gunk phases because we're kind of being super anal with everything. But the first one is, people call this several things, okay? Act as if, okay, if you follow Never Goddard material, he called it living the yin. Okay, most of the time I call it, you have to act like the most successful version of you. Lately, what's been going around is people call it identity. You want to be the most successful version of you identity. Okay, you only have two identities: your old you and you want to be the new identity. So a lot of people calls it your identity or concept of self. Okay, I don't want to confuse you with this, but this is why this stuff is flipping confusing, because people call it many things, okay? But really, and I'm gonna give you a really good example here, okay? But really what it comes down to it is you're acting as if, okay, during the day, you act like the most successful version of you. So if you want your dream house, how would that version of you act, carry themselves, make decisions all day long? Who would you hang out with? What places would you go? What places would you hang out with? Hang out at? Where would you drive and get your coffee? So forth and so forth. So by the time when you wake up, you're acting like that most successful version of you that has everything that you want. Okay. Now the main issue with this, and I know I'm talking fast. The main issue is, it's not that you're not doing it. Okay, you are doing it, but you're contradicting your state. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about really fast. This is where my really great example comes in. You're contradicting yourself, okay? Listen, you think you're acting like the most successful version of you, but you're not. You're still acting like someone who don't have what you want. Do you understand? That's what I mean by contradicting your state, okay? You're trying to act like you're a millionaire, but you're still acting broke, okay? That's pretty much what you're doing. Think about it this way. A lot of people have this happen to them. Think back in a time in your life where you didn't have a job. Okay, doesn't matter why. Okay, maybe you quit, maybe you got laid off, maybe you got fired, but you didn't have a job. Okay, even if you quit, now I've done this. I've quit a job and I think, well, I'm gonna get a job pretty fast, and it don't happen. Like 6 months later, I still don't have a job. You understand? So if you've had this happen to you, listen to this. Okay, how would you act if you had a job versus when you don't? Especially if you've kind of been unemployed for more than a month. Did you see the shift happen? Like in the beginning, if you get fired, you quit, whatever, in the beginning, you still act like that most successful version of you. You still act like a person who has a job. But when it takes so long to get a new job, you slowly start contradicting your state. You slowly start acting like somebody who's unemployed. You slowly start acting like somebody that don't have a job, okay? You slowly start sleeping in. You don't get up, okay? You slowly start, besides getting up at the same time that you would if you had a job, you would get up, make breakfast, take a shower, get ready. Okay, maybe at 10 a.m. you go to get your favorite coffee. You stop doing all that stuff. That's contradicting your state. You're behaving like somebody that don't have instead of behaving like somebody who has. You understand? And it gets a little bit more interesting than this. Is my greatest example I want to give you with when you're looking for a job. Have you done this where you've been unemployed for a month or two, 3 months? Now all of a sudden, in the beginning, you had high standards. Basically standards around a job that you wouldn't put up with. You had high standards. Then as more time passed, you start lowering your standards. Okay. Let me give you some examples. You start lowering your standards. Besides having high standards of where you're going to work and what places you're not going to work, you start lowering your standards. Okay. You start interviewing for jobs that you would never work there. It would never even be on your radar. Okay. Maybe when you go through job interviews, okay, have you had this happen to you? You go through a job interview and the person interviewing you is really rude to you. Okay. But listen, how would you respond to that situation if someone's rude to you in the interview? Okay. And sometimes they're just constantly rude with you. Okay. How would you respond to it? Okay. How would you respond? Let's say you already had a job and you're interviewing. Okay. How would you respond to it? If I already have, I don't need another job. How would I respond to somebody being rude with me in an interview? Okay. Would you put up with it? Well, probably not. Okay. Even if you did it professionally, you probably just end the interview and say, hey, you know what? You're being rude. Let's just end this interview right now. Let's not waste each other's time. I'm not interested. Boom. And you just end the conversation like that. And you don't even give it a second thought. Okay. But when you really need a job, isn't it amazing you start putting up with it? You start putting up with people being rude with you. You start putting up with people like indirectly making sly comments at you during interviews. Okay. Again, you're lowering your standards. Okay. You're contradicting your state. You're not behaving like somebody that's the most successful version of you. You're not behaving like somebody who has what you want. That's why I don't want to give you a million examples with this. I just want to stop it right here. But in this example, in number one here, I really want to tell you number two also, is you have to be really, really careful that you're not contradicting your state. You're not doing things what that most successful version of you wouldn't do. Okay? That's why things are hard. That's why, like in my jobless example, that's why once you start behaving like you're unemployed, that's why that energy, that overall state overtakes you. That's why it's 2 times, 3 times, 10 times more harder finding a job, because you're not acting like the most successful version of you. Okay? So before we move on to number 2, this is what I want you to do. You got to act like the most successful version of you, no matter what you want to call it. You understand, my friends? Okay? You want to set high standards. Okay? Now, in my job example, even if you're unemployed, even if you haven't had a job for 6 months, okay, and the job market sucks, okay, you still have high standards. And what I mean by this is you don't interview for places that you don't see yourself working at. You don't interview for places that's beneath you. Okay, if you have a college degree, you don't interview at places and positions that you don't need a college degree. You only need high school. You understand what I'm saying? You don't interview at places that's never been on your radar. If you already had a job, okay, it wouldn't even be on your radar at all. Okay? You stop doing it. You stay with your standards. Okay? That's what you got to do. You got to stay with your standards. Don't bend your standards. Don't lower your standards. You stay with them. Okay? I know it's hard to do, but you stay with your standards. If you have an interview, you pick up the phone, they start really being rude with you, and you start thinking, dude, I don't want to work there. You just call the interview. Okay? You can be professional about it, or you can just You can just call them out. I've done that before in an interview. He started being rude with me kind of indirectly, and he was doing it a lot through the interview. And I just stopped the interview. I just basically said, hey, look, okay, let's just call this interview because you're being rude with me. I don't like it. I've already made my decision. You're wasting my time. I'm wasting your time. Let's just call this interview and call it for what it is, okay? And that's what I did, okay? Why? Because that's the most successful version of me, okay? I'm not going to let someone talk down to me. I'm not going to let, especially inside an interview. That should tell you, guys, if the human resource person, the director, is being rude with you, being a bully inside the interview, how do you think it's going to be working there? Okay? Don't let people cross your standards, okay? Keep high standards. Keep your high standards, okay? That's what you got to learn. You got to keep your high standards. That's what the most successful version of you would do. You got to start acting like it, okay? Now, really quick here, friends. Do you want a challenge that's going to make every dream of yours come true? You see, my friends, the issue is when you start trying to live life on your terms, you're doing everything right. See, that's the problem. That's how you feel. You're trying your hardest, but nothing is changing. Now, in the challenge, there's no fluff, there's no hype. It's just real transformation delivered daily. We are going to the core. We are going to the root cause why things are not working for you. All you got to do is go to the description, click see more. Everything will pop up and you will see the 30-day breakthrough challenge. Click the link and it will take you right over to that. Let's move on because I kind of hit this on the head many times. Let's move on to number 2 here. Now, number 2 is what most people don't talk about. Okay, that's why I left it for number 2. I hardly ever hear people talk about this. Is the greatest thing you can do, the greatest thing above step 1, okay, above being the most successful version of you, above living in the end, above acting as if, above pretending like you already have everything you want, what's above that, listen, is your perception around everything. That's number 2, your perception of life, okay? Let me put it this way for you, is if right now today, you already have everything you want, okay? How would you perceive your world? And this might be a deep question for you. You might think about this throughout the day. You might chew on this throughout the day, okay? How would you perceive your world if you already had what you want? Okay? What would be the perception of your world if you already had what you want? Okay? Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay? Because listen, guys, it's how you perceive everything. It's your perception of everything. And it's the perception of your world. It's perception of everything around you. It's how you perceive everything. Okay? Like, listen, if you have a negative perception around everything, that's going to contradict number 1 we just talked about. That's going to be your major contradiction. Okay, you can walk, listen guys, you can walk around and act like the most successful version of you, make decisions like the most successful version of you, but if your perception of your world is that life sucks, well, that's what's going to come to you. That's what I'm talking about. What's the perception of your world? How do you view your world? Do you just wake up and deep down to your core, you just feel like, I'm blessed, life is great? Do you really feel that way? See, that's what I mean. How do you perceive your world? Okay. And even right now, if you're 100% honest with yourself, you might be sitting here thinking, well, Chad, I don't perceive my world very good. Okay. But now I want you to ask this question to yourself. How would the most successful version of me that has everything I want, how would that version of me perceive my world? Just flip the question. Think about it here for a second. Okay, you might want to even pause this video so you don't hear me yak and talk over and over and over to give you time to think. How would the most successful version of you, who has your dream house, your dream car, makes the amount of money you want to make, how would that version of you perceive your world? Will that version of you perceive your world as, dude, life is great. I'm just so blessed. I'm just so blessed to have my family. Life is great. I get to do what I want. I do everything I want. I support my family. My family's taken care of. I retire my mom. I help her out. Everything's lovely. Do you really see it like that? Because that, listen guys, 100% honest. Okay, you might use different words, okay, because I'm thinking on the spot. But honestly, that's what the most successful version of you would be thinking. If you had everything you want, you would just, your view of your world would be like you're living in Fruitopia somewhere. You understand? I mean, you're living in the greatest place on planet Earth. Okay? There's no issues whatsoever. That's how they would view their world. And listen, even if you're not there yet, that's how you need to view your world. Okay? And if you want to change this, you can comment below. I'll help you out as much as possible, or you can reach out to me. Okay? Everything's in the description if you need help with this. But one of the ways you can do this is just through affirmations. Okay, I know a lot of people say affirmations are dead, or they try to call it a different word, but it still means affirmations. Okay, no matter robotic affirmations, something that you say to yourself during like an emotional state that kind of pulls you out of that state. Okay, and sometimes I do this when I feel my mind going in the gutter, and I might just be thinking it. I'm not saying it out loud. I might just be thinking it. Then all of a sudden I might say out loud, dude, I'm blessed. My life is great. I love my life. I love being in Thailand. Thai people are fantastic. You know what I mean? I might say it out loud because I'm trying to alter how I perceive my world. Okay? And listen to this. What you tell yourself over and over and over and over and over again like a robot, eventually your subconscious mind takes it as true. Okay, listen to this. If you tell yourself a lie over and over and over and over and over again, eventually your subconscious mind is going to accept it as true, accept it as not a lie. Okay? So a lie could be, you could tell yourself, I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I'm happy. To you, you're lying to yourself. But if you, listen guys, if you say it over and over and over and over and over again, like a flipping robot, day in and day out, eventually you're going to believe it. Eventually you're going to believe, I'm successful, I'm wealthy. Eventually you're going to believe it. And listen, once your subconscious mind believes it, it makes it happen. Okay? Now, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with that, but that's one way to kind of help you perceive your world a little bit better. But other than that, tribe, just want to share this short little video. Don't want to go on and on and on with you. Try to keep some videos a little bit short, or rather short, rather than doing 45-minute videos every single video. But anyway, guys, listen, I love you guys. Comment below. If you need help with this, comment below. I usually try to be inside the comments, but we'll see kind of how it goes. Usually depending upon my time and my how busy I am, but I usually always try to reply. But if you need to reach out to me, check the description. That's where all the nuggets are. That way everything's up to date inside the description. It's a hefty description. There's a lot in there for you guys. But check out the description. But always remember, I love you guys. Hang in there. Don't give up. Because listen, if success was easy, even if manifesting was easy, okay, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be living their dream life. And sometimes it's just not true. Okay. And the reason why it's not true is because they give up too soon. That's just the alter ego there. They give up too soon. They throw in a towel too soon. They literally throw in a towel when they're this close. They quit when it's this close. Okay, when you're this close to your dream life, to what you want, this is when all the pressures of life is on you. This is when it's on you. It's on you so flippin' strong, you don't see how in the world it's gonna work. And that's when most people give up. I mean, you have to understand that. Okay. At any time I feel like giving up, anytime I feel like throwing in the towel, I always remind myself of this. I always remind myself, dude, what I want is actually touching the tip of my nose. I'm this close to it. Okay? That's why it feels like a flipping hurricane is around your head, around your life, because it's trying to do everything it can to get you to quit. Okay, you got to stand your ground. Okay, you got to stand your ground and push through. That's how this stuff works. Okay, that's how life works. Okay, and that's what people don't tell you all the time. Okay, but other than that, remember, I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.